we are very happy to conclude this long and rich experience as we had with our partners, and so we welcome you to this final meeting. And in the interest of time, I will give the word to Jinun now, because he will present the one of the work packages, and or perhaps back to Lisa first, because we're going from the beginning of the work packages. Yeah.
Yeah, so on my side, thank you very much for the introduction. On my side, this is I gave an overview of the agenda, and I think Jin Yun prepared this slide, so I let you introduce the project.
Thank you for introduction, Michael. So the project that we participated is related to solar energy conversion. Water and the CO2 into oxygen and ethylene. That was the first aim for realizing. Then it's related to 15 organizations, 6 universities, and 2 SUN2CHEM to conduct this project. This project was originally planned for 36 months. Ended up extended. I forgot how long. 6 months.
For 7 months.
7 months, yes, and many of the organizations are in this consortium. And the next page. So as I described, it's to realize a solar energy conversion. Then this project is to investigate CO2 reduction and oxygen evolution to generate ethylene from a photoelectrochemical cell, and to validate the system when it comes to mechanism and its additional functionality like stability. And this actually came with 2 different angles. One is photocatalysis and the other photoelectrochemical cell. And next slide, please. Then it's to many other things. Besides the experimental result, we also try to raise a social acceptance and dissemination of the result as well, and also the life cycle analysis related to our results. And finally, for consideration related to the scale up of the technology towards a terawatt scale, which will be presented in its presentation as well. And it has an expectable impact for presenting result related to storable chemical energy from sun, which we think that it's the subject is getting more attention. Obviously, we are trying to reach net zero CO2 emission. Then also the net energy security, because it doesn't involve the fossil fuel in line, and also the economic development, which we tried out, which will be described in the presentation. And also, the most importantly, I believe this our project encouraged largely for international collaboration. Of course, the result will be presented today. Next slide, please. Then this project is configured with the various work packages ranging to 10. You can see it, but it'll be actually presented. So I believe it can be started from work package 1 in this presentation.
I think as work package 1 is specification, I think we can already start with work package 2. Is this okay for you?
Yes, then work package 2 to be started.
Okay, so Valérie, if you're ready, you can share your screen.
Yes, I will try to share.
Thank you, Jin Yun, for the introduction.
Sure.
Can you see my screen? Yes.
Yes.
Is it okay for you? So hello, good morning. I'm going to give you some, I would say, the main highlights and achievements obtained within the work package 2. As a reminder, it was focused on advanced concepts for efficient light harvesting and charge carrier separation. And you can see here the different partners implied in that work package too. So here is the general process strategy that we tried to carry out. As a first step, we focused on the optimization, on the design of heterojunction between two kinds of semiconductors. After that, the aim was to synthesize some optimized metallic or bimetallic plasmonic phases to be deposited on the best heterojunctions. And after that, thanks to advanced characterizations, to try to elaborate a multi-component and efficient systems to be assessed via photocatalytic CO2 reduction, and a part of the job was also dedicated to the optimization of the photocatalytic reactor and setup. So just a few words about the optimization of the design of the heterojunctions. We were playing with these different semiconductors: titanium dioxide, graphitic carbon nitride, bismuth vanadate, copper oxide, and some MOF materials. And just a few highlights how it's possible to play with the morphology of copper oxide. So the Italian partners can give you some more details if necessary, of course. You can see here from Leiden University how they succeeded by playing with the morphology of copper oxide, also to associate them with bismuth vanadate to increase the efficiency when used in PEC setups. Here in CNRS, we try to work with the doping of graphitic carbon nitride to shift the visible light absorption, to associate them with titanium dioxide. And after gold deposition, you can see that it's possible also a little bit to impact on the reaction rate and selectivity towards methane formation. Yes. Another interesting system I would like to highlight is the formation of heterojunction between titanium dioxide and some metal organic framework like UIO66, modified with an amino functions, and that could be further modified with some treatments to yield missing clusters or missing ligands. And you can see here how it's possible by modifying the MOF content, by modifying the post-treatment, or by modifying the nature of the support to increase the reaction rate of CO2 photoreduction and also the selectivity towards methane formation. To go further with the MOF-based materials, you can see here the building of a multi-layer ZIF-on-ZIF system made on ZIF-67 and ZIF-8 materials, and how it is possible to combine them with titanium dioxide. And looking at this PL intensity results, we can see that the coupling of these materials, of these ZIF-based materials with titanium dioxide, actually helps to decrease the charge recombination. Going further on that heterojunction, we can see that actually we achieved core shell materials with the core made of ZIF-67 and the shell of ZIF-8, and how it is possible also by playing with these different parameters to increase the photoreduction, the CO2 photoreduction reaction rate, and the selectivity towards methane formation. So some words rapidly concerning the optimization of the second step. I mean the mono or bimetallic phases to be deposited on the heterojunctions. And we played with copper-based bimetallic phases with silver, gold, platinum, and palladium. And looking at these different couple of bimetallic phases, we can see that it's possible to achieve high reaction rates towards methane formation, and by applying an additional hydrogen treatment to increase the selectivity towards methane formation. And one of the best couple was the one obtained by associating by achieving the halo between palladium and copper. And you can see that actually we observed that the optimum metal amount was 2%, the optimal composition 80 of palladium and 20% molar percent of copper, and using the UV100 support calcined at 350 and applying a hydrogen post-thermal treatment. Okay, and going further with these two kinds of palladium and platinum copper bimetallic systems, we observe the same tendency, let's say, in terms of the dependence toward metal loading. After optimizing these two different steps separately, the idea was how it is possible to combine the different optimized bricks to make a multi-component system that is efficient toward CO2 photoreduction rate and also the selectivity to carbon-based products. So the idea was to associate graphite carbon nitride to titanium dioxide or ZIF-based materials and depositing on them bimetallic palladium copper optimized phases. And you can see here the different advantages that we observed working separately with these different components. And we can see actually that working on palladium copper deposited on ZIF graphite carbon nitride and titanium dioxide coupled semiconductor, it's possible to increase the reaction rate towards methane formation, but also a little bit the selectivity. But we have to work further on the optimization of the selectivity, of course. To finish the optimization of the photocatalytic setup or process, so you can see here the different parts of the photocatalytic reactor on which we were working, and the idea was to optimize first the feedstock, that means the ratio between the CO2 and the water compositions. And by working with that composition, we have seen the formation of some ethylene within the product obtained. We have also seen that it's possible to play with the pressure. That means that increasing a little bit the pressure during the photocatalytic reaction, it's possible to increase both the reaction rate and the selectivity in terms of CO2 photoreduction process when working with palladium copper deposited on titanium dioxide. And to finish, we are working on the optimization, I would say, of the heat control. That means to associate, to achieve, to yield a hybrid activation, photon activated system with thermo or induction systems. And our last results are very encouraging. That means that by applying an induction additional activation, it's possible to induce some hot points and to develop efficiently the overall process to increase the reaction rates and also the selectivity towards methane and ethylene formations. Okay, and thank you a lot for your attention. So.
Thank you very much, Valérie. Okay, so if we don't have any really specific question to this presentation, I would suggest to go through work package 3. Can I take the floor again?
Sure.
Okay. The floor is yours, Sixto.
Okay, thank you very much, Lisa. So, good morning, everyone. My name is Sixto Jimenez. I am going to present the activities, the main outputs of work package 3, which is optimization of light harvesting and charge separation on photoanodes and photocathodes. So if in work package 2, we have learned about the main achievements related to the development of a photocatalytic system, here we are addressing the development of the bricks, like the photoanode and the photocathode, for the development of the photoelectrochemical cell. So this activity or this work package has been led by INAM, and we have been responsible for the task 3.1 related to the development of photoanodes. Task 3.2 has been developed, has been coordinated by EPFL on the development of the photocathodes, and the understanding of limiting factor for performance and mechanistic analysis has been led by Imperial College. So I'm going to describe the main outputs for the task 3.1, then I will give the floor to EPFL for the task 3.2, and finally to Imperial College London for the task 3.3. So in task 3.1, what we have been doing, also in collaboration with other partners, has been developing like efficient bismuth vanadate heterostructures for water oxidation and oxidation of organic substrates. And here what I'm showing is like the development of a novel synthetic method based on flow synthesis of nanoparticles. So you can see in the scheme like there is two different precursors, to bismuth and vanadium, that we can combine in our flow reactor and obtain nanoparticles with a very good controlled size of around 4 nanometers. And then these nanoparticles can be deposited as large area photoelectrodes. And here I show also in the image, like bottom left, like 3 different photoelectrodes with areas comprised between 1 square centimeter to 50 square centimeters. So we have been testing, optimizing these photoelectrodes and achieved like currents in the range of 0.6 milliamps per square centimeter in large area photoelectrodes, 50 square centimeter. Next one, please, Lisa. Also, like try to improve like the efficiency. We have been also working on the development of polycarbazole layers on top of bismuth vanadate photoanodes for improved photoelectrochemical water splitting. And here you can see in this case the synthesis of this bismuth vanadate photoanodes is just electrochemical deposition. On top of the bismuth vanadate, we electrodeposit a carbazole layer, and in the next slide we can see the photoelectrochemical performance, like achieving in an area of 1 square centimeter, like 5 milliamps per square centimeter, which is like a important improvement with respect to the the efficiency of the bare photoanode, which is around 3 milliamps per square centimeter, and with very good stability, like with a limited loss in the almost in 100-hour experiment. So I can give the floor to EPFL for task 3.2 for the developments of the photocathode. So please.
Yes, okay, thank you, Sixto. And from task 3.2, we focused on development of the photocathode, which is conducting a reduction reaction, specifically deliverable related to realizing high current density and photovoltage. During our project, we managed to achieve around 10 milliampere per square centimeter, which is actually state-of-art efficiency, as well as a voltage around 1.2 volt. We achieved this by using a silicon-based nanostructure template As you can see from a flat one at the above and the bottom is the textured silicon with a micro pyramid. And this showed a much higher roughness compared to the flat surface. You can see from the AFM measurement below, then roughness was significantly more, around 10 times after cuprous oxide being deposited. And this was also achieving stability around 30 hours with a minimum change after the stability. And next slide, please. Then this could be also scaled up. And for instance, this is an image that we could get for scaled up bismuth sulfate and cuprous oxide, size around 35 centimeter. And this IB curve was actually measured with 0.5 SUN. So it's actually higher for the 1 SUN sunlight intensity. More or less, we could realize that if you can click on the picture of each image, if you can, yes, and of course, under 0.5 SUN, it's generating bubbles. And for instance, it is for oxygen evolution at the top, and bottom it's for the reduction of electrolytes to generate hydrogen. And this is all for task point 3.2. Then I would like to give a floor to the next speaker. Thank you.
So yeah, Dr. Daniele Benetti is going to present the outputs of task 3.3. Thank you, Daniele.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Daniele. I'm a research fellow working with James Tarrant at Imperial College. And in this task 3.3, our group investigated the OER mechanism for two common catalysts for PC system, such as the cobalt iron Prussian blue and the cobalt oxy hydroxide. In this case, we use an advanced optical spectro-electrochemical setup that's been developed by Ben Moss in order to explore the relationship between the absorbed coverage and the OER kinetics. By combining the prediction from DFT analysis and with the parameter that we obtained from the electroabsorption of isotherm, we could demonstrate that there is a destabilization of catalytic intermediates that occurs with increasing coverage. In particular, we saw that for the Prussian blue, we observe a weaker interaction and a direct link between the catalytic states seen in the optical spectroscopy with the oxygen evolution onset that was measured by an electrochemical mass spectrometer. This suggests that there are weakly bound states with interaction that playing a smaller role in modulating the activity. Instead, in the cobalt oxy hydroxide, the catalytic intermediates form at significantly lower onset potential, anodic potential, compared to the oxygen evolution onset. This can be associated to a strong destabilization of catalytic intermediates with increasing coverage. Overall, in this work, we observed that the binding energy of the rate-limiting intermediates in both catalysts varies linearly with the coverage. And this underscored that there is a potential dependent interaction of intermediate, and this is not a negligible factor in the kinetics of complex electrocatalysis. So in this case, we need to consider that. So if you go to the next slide, and this work actually has been just published recently on JACS last month. So instead, in the second slides, we are showing a second work. We investigated the effect of light intensity on the OER mechanism for different metal oxides such as hematite, bismuth vanadate, and also titanium. We observed that under high light intensity, a new regime appears that is characterized by reaction order that is significantly larger compared to the one that we usually observe under 1 SUN, that is usually a third order kinetics. We in collaboration with Professor Simone Piccinini at the University of Trieste, that provide us some microkinetic models and some DFT analysis. We can attribute this shift to a reduction in activation energy and a possible decrease in a band bending that could be associated with the band edge unpinning due to the change in the OER mechanism that could explain this change from third order to a much higher order in the kinetics. Overall, this work has been completed, all the experimental part has been done, and the manuscript is in its final draft, and soon it will be submitted. Thank you.
So with that, yeah, I would like to thank all the partners contributing to the work package because it was a very nice output, I think, at the end of the project. And yeah, thanks a lot for your attention.
Thank you very much for your work as well. Okay, any specific question, or we can keep it to the question and answer session at the end? Okay, so I think we can jump on work package 4.
Okay, I guess, yes. Here's a work package 4, some related development of a solar-driven catalytic system. Basically, we want to conduct a CO2 reduction reaction using light observer we have been developing, especially work package 3. Then next slide, please. And this work package is related to deliverables to get robust cuprous oxide with a long lifetime and a good catalyst for CO2 reduction to generate ethylene, preferably Faraday efficiency above 70%, and deliverable, the other deliverable to get high partial current density for ethylene generation from photocathode we developed and the catalyst we developed. And the other that is to achieve a high functional, the earth-abundant water oxidation catalyst for the counter reaction of the CO2 reduction. And finally, there's the deliverable to related to optimization of such a system by prediction based on what was discovered from experiment. Next slide, please. And the task is related to first cuprous oxide, and 4 that's related to cuprous oxide jointed together with the catalyst. We described this quite specifically, but we had to change our direction. This will be presented in the result. And the task 4.3, I think that this was actually handled in the presentation work package 2. And for task 4.4, it's related. And text 4.5 is to study related photoanode relation with the water oxidation and organic oxidation. And finally, the task 4.6 is for the prediction and optimization of efficiency and the system for the better CO2 reduction activity. Next slide, please. And the first task, besides development done for the work package 3, we tried to increase the stability of the cuprous oxide by changing protection layer from titanium dioxide to the tin oxide. This is an example that the tin oxide was used as a protection layer. It shows a respectable efficiency compared to titanium dioxide protection layer. Then this recorded stability up to slightly less than 1,000 minutes, which is 100 hours, I think. No, sorry. Was it 100 hours?
Divided by 60.
60. That's not so high.
It's 15 hours.
15 hours. Oh, it's not so long.
16 hours.
Okay. Then we tried out with the various approach, but if you can see from task 4.2, later we had to shift. Then 4.2 is for realizing highly active CO2 reduction catalyst. This was done with the gas diffusion layer. That we loaded the metallic catalyst on the permeable substance. Then this allowed the three-phase interface more effectively. Thus, this work could realize high Faraday efficiency of CO2 reduction into ethylene production up to 75%, which is very close to state-of-art functionality. We developed a catalyst and photocathode, but at task 4.3, we faced some trouble that our light observer was not active enough nor compatible with the catalyst we developed from the task 4.2. So we ended up using the PB integrated device. For this case, it's lead halide perovskite light observer. Some of you are quite familiar with it. Then this could realize a pretty good current density around the 8 milliampere 0.0, And also this could achieve ethylene production or Faraday efficiency around 10%. And next slide, please. And to increase this activity, we tried various combinations. For instance, at left side, we have a perovskite silicon tandem cell with a 4-terminal configuration. We realized a transparent perovskite solar cell to make integrated device, which was slightly better than our previous invention. And later, to make a more academically noble device, we used the organic tandem cell for integrated device, which was also better, and current voltage was pretty good. But eventually, at next page, then the final device we chose was from Professor Hairen Tan. Then it's using perovskite silicon tandem cell that was integrated and working inside the water. This achieved a photo voltage around 1.9, which is very high, the highest for during our task. It's the highest functionality and also pretty good stability, which is related to the later task of 5.1. Then next slide, please. Then for this one is related to photoanode development. I should give a floor to IC/IQ and Instinct.
Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Yes, actually, I think Sixto can explain this slide better than me because I coordinated, but he did the measurements.
Yeah, if you want, I can go
Please.
through the slides. So the idea, I think, here was like to develop like spray coated bismuth vanadate materials with different transparency, and we have tested this structure not only for the water oxidation but for other organic reaction like glycerol oxidation. Glycerol is a waste from the production of biodiesel, and it is easier from a thermodynamic point of view and a kinetic point of view to oxidize glycerol compared to water. So here in the upright figures, you can see two examples of using hematite or bismuth vanadate for the oxidation of these both substrates. And a kinetic analysis was also carried out by spectroelectrochemistry in collaboration with the Imperial College, in which what we could see is that the order of reaction when glycerol was used as a substance was different from comparing bismuth vanadate or hematite. Additionally, different protection layers were used, and this is what appears down to the left, and we can see that with the production we could improve the photocurrent of our photoelectrodes. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sixto.
Someone from SUN2CHEM.
Yeah, I'm Paolo Fornasiero from the University of Trieste, SUN2CHEM. And so with the aim to use earth-abundant catalysts, we made different materials, and we integrate them to the bismuth vanadates. We focus on nickel oxides based materials. Performances unfortunately were not that great. Various problems, activity and stability. We tried also to protect the nickel, but we have not achieved better performances so far. Thank you.
Hi, we also looked at really the design process for how we should design POEM's photoelectrochemical cells. And for that, we used the axiomatic design theory. And within that theory, we found that there's a really a rational design path, which really starts from the CO2 catalyst. And we think that we should really, if we want to achieve high solar to ethylene efficiencies with a high potent product yield, that we should really design it around the CO2 catalyst, as it is really one of the bottlenecks at the moment. So that's what we decide here. Can you show the next slide, please? So we also did some calculations, and we actually think that with one of the older catalysts with a Faraday efficiency up to 61%, we could actually achieve some benchmark results up to 32 micromolar per hour per square centimeter of ethylene, which would be more or less equal to a solid ethylene efficiency of 11.9%. So there's really a lot of potential here, we think. But this does require some current concentration on CO2 catalyst, as the solar cells will never be able to deliver enough current density to really have the catalyst working optimally. So that's something we should also really look for in our design, where we can actually concentrate the current. Next slide, please. And then finally, looking at the CO2 reduction catalyst, it should be really taken into account that we should also have like a really wide range of operation, because then we can actually have some variability in the solar light. If we only have a very small range of operation, we can already see that once the solar light fluctuates a little bit, the production really goes down rapidly, far more than you would initially expect. So that's from our side. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone, for work package 4. Shall we jump on work package 5?
Okay,
Paolo, are you
I'm ready. So work package 5 deals with integration and stability assessment. Next slide, please. The most promising component investigated and developed in the previous work packages, including heterojunction nanoparticles, plasmonic components, photocatalysts, photoanodes, has been investigated in a PECL system, and the target is to have a final device successfully working. The next slide, please. So task 5.1 is led by Professor James Durant, Imperial College London, and of course deals with the understanding of mechanism and the activation process. The target is to have a device that can have stable performance for 1,000 hours with a loss of photocurrent density lower than 5%. Next slide, please. As we heard already from Daniele Benetti in work package 3, there has been a great investigation on the reaction mechanism. And at Imperial College, they observed that the impact of prolonged exposure to light on bismuth vanadates had significant effects, in particularly at open circuit potential under sunlight for extended duration. It was observed a significant enhancement in photocurrent exceeding 50%. And they use spectro-electrochemical technique and transient absorption spectroscopy to understand the mechanism for this increase in performances. And the finding indicates an increase in electron trapping states, which can be ascribed or was ascribed to the formation of vanadium-4+ species. These charge species after alter the space charge layer, facilitating greater charge separation. So notably that beside the formation of bismuth-rich passivation layer, there's no impact on reactivity of accumulated holes, leaving the oxygen evolution reaction rate unchanged. And as mentioned, this is work has been completed, and a manuscript is under preparation and will be submitted by the end of this May. Next slide, please. Second very important investigation aims to compare the kinetic of electrochemical and photoelectrochemical water oxidation of bismuth vanadates, photoanodes. And basically, the conclusion of this investigation was that the electrochemical water oxidation is facilitated by Zener tunneling of electron under strong bias, and the kinetics of both electrochemical and photoelectrochemical water oxidation are governed only by the current of surface hole in the valence band. Overall, the water oxidation bismuth vanadates follow the same kinetics and mechanism under both photoelectrochemical and electrochemical condition. The critical step for the initiating water oxidation in both cases is the accumulation of surface density, sufficient density of surface valence band holes. So this work is accepted in Journal of Medical Chemical Society. Next slide, please. Further work is ongoing, and beside the fact that the SUN2CHEM project ends now, future research will include operando access investigation of the synchrotron of Soleil, where we make application to better understand the degradation process of photo under photo activation, and additional electrochemical techniques and studies will be employed to understand the influence of stressor like temperature and pH. Next slide, please. EPFL was in charge of task 5.2, integrated device including photocathode, photoanode, and ion exchange membrane. Here, target is very ambitious, current density higher than 4 mA/cm², and solar to ethylene efficiency higher than 2%. Next slide, please. As already mentioned in work package 4, task 4.2, the final device is quite complex, and including also perovskites, as already mentioned. You see that how many different components, and in the next slides you can see the design of the optimized cell with all the various components, which leads in the next slide to the performance mentioned also before, current density 3.2 mA/cm². The stability is decent, and analysis of the products is in progress. Next slide, please. Task 5.3 deals with design and realization of flow cell, and Sisto Gomez spent lots of time in managing all the different parts, as you can see in the next slide, where you can see the project and realization of the various components. The challenging aspects is to deal with the gas flow, the bubbles, the problems of leaching. In the next slides, you can see more. Yes, and this is the final device, which has been optimized thanks to Sisto Gomez, and that's it. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Oh yes, the performances were also there, indicated that the current is stable, and the reactivity occurs as. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paolo. Any specific question to the results that was presented? Okay, so Maja, I give you the floor, or Maxime.
I think we're supposed to start. Maja, you're okay with that?
Yes, that's fine. So I'll wrap it up.
Okay, thank you. So good morning, everyone. Maxime from AFP Energy Nouvelles. So we were responsible for the environmental and economic impact assessment of the ethylene produced through the PC reactor and PEC device. So we want to know what is the impact of 1 kilogram of ethylene produced today at lab scale. So to understand better where are the contributions to which environmental impact categories. And we want also to have an idea of what would be the impacts and the costs once the technology is upscaled, so at industrial scale. And we suggest a comparison with the conventional ethylene impacts, so made from natural gas. So what we do is we apply the well-known methodologies such as life cycle assessments, from where we gather all the emissions and energy inputs for the raw material extraction, the material manufacture, also the use phase. So meaning if there is a need for replacement of a catalyst, for example, we will take that into account. And we set the assumption of 3% conversion efficiency, which might be optimistic at lab scale. And for upscale, we assume that it will be 5% with energy savings from the upscaling version compared to the lab scale version. Thank you, Lisa. So here's an idea of the results we computed for the PC reactor with the palladium catalyst at industrial scale. So we see we are looking at various environmental impact categories such as climate change, the use of non-renewable resources, the land use, the material resources, the metals and minerals. So all that, we see the contributions of the equipments below on the x-axis. You see the photocatalysis, the palladium photocatalysis, which is the main contributor, for example, in the material resource of metal, the use of metal resources. And you see in blue, dark blue, the sum of the whole contribution compared with the dark one, which is the conventional fossil ethylene. So you see, according to the environmental categories, that the PC ethylene produced is not always favorable in terms of environmental impact. It is interesting for the climate change impact categories where we use CO2 from captured source. So we avoid emissions of CO2. So you can see negative emissions, but it has to be well interpreted because it's only avoided, not drawn back from the atmosphere. Thank you, Lisa. Can you please go? Yes, so those are the same results, but for the PEC device with the silicium tandem cell. So you see that the impacts of the PEC produced ethylene is much more higher than the conventional one in dark. This is mostly due to the PSC silicium tandem cell in every impact categories. And inside this impact, it's mostly due to the energy for the manufacture of these tandem cells. So in order to have environmentally competitive ethylene produced from this device, we need to reduce further the energy for manufacturing these tandem cells. Thank you. I'll give the floor to Carlos for the economic.
So thank you very much, Maxime. So I'm Carlos Andrade from AFP Energy Nouvelles. I was in charge of doing the technical economic analysis of the SUN2CHEM devices. So first, for this analysis, I have considered all the different costs incurred during the life cycle of the project. We have considered 20 years lifetime for the project. concerning the different cost elements. First, we take into account capex, that are all the costs that are incurred during the construction and setting up the plant. Then we have OPEX, that are the different costs that are used during the operation of the devices. So this so at the end, I'm computing the levelized cost of producing 1 kilogram of ethylene. So this economic analysis has only been developed for the upscale version of the project. This means that 5% efficiency, less energy consumption, etc. The same as Maxime presented before. So concerning the results, next one, please. So the results for the PC, here we have the total capital requirement that will be needed in this case for the PC reactor. It's around 2.2 million euros. OPEX are around per year more than 130,000 euros. So I computed the levelized cost of ethylene, that in this case it resulted in 1.40 euros, so which is a little bit higher than the conventional ethylene, the conventional average price in the market for conventional ethylene. So it's not that different. With this cost, we are going to have a project that is in equilibrium. This means that the project is going to, all the costs are going to be compensated by the revenues. But we have to take into account that we have taken very positive and optimistic hypotheses, that mainly a 10-year lifetime for the photocatalysis, 5% solar to ethylene efficiency. That's for the PC. Next slide, please. For the PC, this is very different. We have a total capital requirement that is very huge. That is more than 300 million euros to build the capacity unit. So with this, we obtain a levelized cost very high, which cannot be compared to today's conventional average ethylene market price. So that's all for the results. So much research is needed to give the PC ethylene to reach better economic performances. Thank you very much.
Yes, so I will take over. My name is Maja Dukadenich from Aarhus University in Denmark, and I'll focus on work package 7 was on social acceptance, but to focus on examining and determining the potential levels of social acceptance for the technology, as well as determining the key stakeholders at the 3 layers of acceptance, both at the social, political, market, and community levels. Next slide, please. Can you switch slide, Lisa? Yes, so our results have been recently published in Journal of Energy Research and Social Science. And it, of course, includes the detailed descriptions of methodology, analysis, results, and discussion. It's an open access paper. Next, please. Yes, so the main challenge to conduct a study on social acceptance is that such studies are retrospective. So we needed to take a proactive approach to identify these influencing factors for a technology that has not yet been implemented. Next slide. So we conduct an explanatory literature review of technologies that share characteristics, and then we synthesize these insights into relevant factors that either promote or inhibit multi-level acceptance. Then we have adopted a 2-dimensional approach to identify various stakeholder groups across these 3 dimensions. And then we proactively formulate appropriate involvement and management strategies to effectively engage and manage those relationships. And overall, the study offers valuable guidance for proactively understanding and managing stakeholder acceptance before implementing a technology. Next. So this is the details of the methodology, how we have conducted the study. Next. Yes, so this is the overview of the acceptance, summary of the acceptance. So for instance, factors such as coherent strategies, regulatory and financial support, along with political backing, has a positive influence on the socio-political acceptance of such technology, whereas incoherent policies, non-supportive regulations, and political resistance has a negative influence on the acceptance. At the market level, favorable market conditions such as infrastructure access, resource availability, financing, and knowledge of technologies has a positive influence, whereas cost inefficiency, technological immaturity, competition with other related technologies, and lack of information, lack of financing, customers, and collaborative relationships has a negative influence. And finally, at the community level acceptance, we have identified that ownership, recognition, objective information to the community stakeholders, and a positive media discourse has a positive influence on community level acceptance. Whereas projects that are primarily profit-driven and very obviously profit-driven, and factors such as conflicting interest with local community actors and negative media portrayal has a negative influence on the community level acceptance. Next slide, please. And then we have identified a variety of stakeholders, and we have determined their relative threatening and cooperative potential, and we identified stakeholders also at these three distinct levels: the socio-political, market, and community dimension. And we have done this at two distinct stages of the technology maturity process: at the development of the technology, the current stage where we are at now with this technology, and then in the future at the implementation of technology. And we have formulated appropriate management strategies for engaging with these different stakeholders. Next. Yes. So to summarize the stakeholder landscape at the development of technology, these different colors identify the different actors, and we propose how to engage with them. There are 4 different strategies. So this is the current stage of the technology. It's in development stage, and majority of the stakeholders, they currently have a low threatening potential because they don't have a direct influence yet. Whereas, could you switch slide? It is worth notifying that the positioning of the actors in the stakeholder landscape will definitely change at the implementation of the technology. So this is actually a forecast of how the actors and the stakeholders will behave and will be positioned at some point in the future. And we have proactively formulated recommendations about how to engage and manage those relationships. And particularly, I will highlight here, it's important to pay attention to local community stakeholders during the implementation of the technology, national and local governments, and some key industrial players in order to secure the multi-level stakeholder and social acceptance of a technology. Yes, thank you very much. That is our key findings on the social acceptance study.
Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for this presentation. So finally, we'll go through the exploitation perspectives and expected impacts. So I will give the floor to Hugo.
Yes, okay. So good morning, everybody. My name is Hugo Grasset. I work for SUN2CHEM. We were basically leading the work package 8 on exploitation perspectives and expected impacts. As far as the overview or we'll say the objectives of the work package, we basically were tasked with assessing the market potential of the solutions developed during the project by gathering market data and insights, assessing the potential for upscaling the solutions at higher TRLs down the line, and then from there establish some exploitation strategies and approaches that could be applied to the project KERs. So next slide, please. In terms of today's presentation, we quickly go over our approach during the project for performing our task, as well as some of the main outcomes of our market analysis with respect to solar fuels and ethylene, which are, of course, the main areas of application. And finally, how the KERs can be positioned and exploited in future applications. Next slide, please. Okay, as far as our innovation management process goes, it's basically is separated in three main blocks. The first one being a more generalist observations or a more generalist set of observations to identify long-term market potential. The second provides more specific insights in terms of price variations and trends, as well as drivers to be competitive within the chosen markets. And then finally, the last is focused on the resulting exploitation strategies that can be drawn out. Next slide, please. So starting on the actual state of the solar fuels market, for the solar fuels market, obviously we're talking about a conversion of solar radiation directly into chemicals or chemical energy. If you go to the next slide, so far the focus of that market is of course brought on hydrogen, mainly with TRL mappings that show that basically there's much higher TRL levels for sustainable H2, at least if advanced electrolysis is taken into account in the assessment. And as you can see in the following slide, on the right side, you can actually see that hydrogen has a lot more plant capacity additions. So from there in the project, we logically focused on benchmarking actual SUN2CHEM outcomes economically in terms of current green hydrogen economic performance. And these benchmarks are actually performed mainly with the PC ethylene LCCA results that were presented by IFPEN before. And calculating some additional economic KPIs on top of that. As seen as on the figure on the left, hydrogen costs right now vary greatly per production method. Low emission approaches are significantly more costly at around $4 to $12 in 2022. And then in the NZE scenario by 2030, the decreases are foreseen to $2 to $8 for wind and $2 to $5 for solar PV. So if you go to the next slide, when you actually calculate levelized cost per unit of energy for both green hydrogen and PC ethylene, we've got sort of a positive economic performance for SUN2CHEM. What's important to take into consideration here is to remember that the LCCA data also includes higher conversion efficiencies and a lot of savings in terms of the manufacturing. And these improvements will probably only materialize in higher TRLs and in a longer time span. So that's important to take into consideration. When go to the next slide, we also compared economically our PC ethylene to other fuels. This was prescribed by the project call and the actual grant to see its applicability in comparison to more conventional forms of fuel. And from basic cost per unit of energy perspective, the PC ethylene here seems to be a viable alternative, but that's offset by a few factors. The calculations here for the other conventional fuels used, at least for some of them, used retail gas prices for CNG, gasoline, diesel, and LPG. So that includes transport, storage, and distribution within our margins. And then there's also the fact that volumetric energy density is, of course, a lot better for a certain selection of these fuels. And then the fact that natural gas prices recently have fallen dramatically, which makes it a lot more competitive at a price per unit of energy point of view. So if you go to the next slide, the past slide was actually focused on 2024 prices, but we also calculated these cost variations per unit of energy for the past years with retail and futures and spots, depending on the fuels. And what we see here is basically that low emissions ethylene generally is a bit higher in cost, except during perhaps periods of exceptional demand shocks like we saw in 2022. So taking all of this into consideration, although levelized costs per unit of energy seem competitive at first glance, it seems a little bit unlikely that low emissions ethylene as a fuel is ever economically viable, at least within the next decades, we'll say, because it requires important societal infrastructure investments, energy conversion, machine adaptations, and a lot of other adaptations, we'll say, and societal adaptations. which obviously makes it less competitive compared to other fuels, as this will probably push the retail price per kilogram even higher. And then also this is compounded by the fact that competing fuels regularly reach minimums that are sometimes out of reach for PC ethylene. Next slide, please. As far as applications in ethylene markets or conventional ethylene markets, in terms of competing in these markets, there's very large market in Europe at 24 million tons per year, with consumption regularly surpassing production. If you go to the next slide, you can see that Europe is characterized by an aging plant infrastructure with relatively high emissions intensity due to the feedstock mainly focusing on naphtha steam crackers. And so when you go to the next slide, of course, one of the defining characteristics of the ethylene industry in Europe right now is its a very high level of exposure to oil prices. And moving on to the next slide, basically this results in cost disadvantages that are quite clear compared to regions that are more endowed from a resource perspective. And when you combine this with the need for emissions reductions, both of these factors should represent an opportunity for solutions such as SUN2CHEM down the line. And here you can actually see that from 2011 to 2023, making ethylene in Europe was around 1.6 to 2.2 times more expensive than in the US. When we go to the next slide, despite these observations, we actually see that looking at average spot and future contracts over time, it seems highly unlikely that PC ethylene or we'll say low emissions ethylene reaches prices that are similar to the levels, or we'll say no, sorry, that the market prices of ethylene, it's unlikely that they reach levels that make essentially the prices per kilogram in the LCCA analysis viable economically, at least in the medium term. And then you can actually see that in terms of the IEA long-term forecast for Brent, it's unlikely to materialize in these next decades. When you go to the next slide, the price competitiveness also won't be assured by the EU ETS. In the IFP and can confirm this after, but I think that they foresaw an EUA that should be beyond 200 euros per ton of CO2 to make the project competitive. Right now, we're obviously at 60 euros, and then there's also the fact that there are more than 22 million free allocations in EUAs to steam cracking in Europe, which also basically makes the facilities not pay for the real price of carbon. So in the next slide, just to finish things up, where does this leave us in terms of actual SUN2CHEM and future applications and strategies? Well, SUN2CHEM does offer some specific advantages, amongst which stand out the decentralized production, quicker and continuous access, no CO2 emissions, possibility to store CO2 in plastics and polymers. Nevertheless, the project essentially right now is at very low TRL levels, which means that it's still very far from being cost competitive, and it's very difficult to foresee large-scale opportunities within the future. So if we go to the main slides, to the next slide, sorry. The main approach at this stage that's foreseen is essentially focus the next, we'll say, mid TRL level developments, so TRL 5 to 7, on the creation of minimum viable, we'll say, lower scale minimum viable products for lowering costs for the future and mitigating risks when large scale implementations are proposed. So this can basically focus on small scale decentralized production applications, potentially in areas with less coverage than traditional suppliers. And that could be for instance, fruit ripening, medical sterilization, small batch polymers for specialized SMEs or R&D organizations. And then on the next slide, as far as just to focus on the main points, as far as revenue models go, if that is the focal point, will essentially be on a revenue model that would be focused on the installation of these devices, which in terms of their pricing approach should always counterbalance initial expenditures of the project with the savings potential and payback periods for the buyers, which is in itself conditioned by the market price of ethylene that we were seeing just before. And that's, I think, next slide, that is it for our part. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Hugo. Okay, so thank you very much to all the presenters. I think now we can maybe dedicate 10 minutes if there are any questions, especially from external attendees or even partners, of course. So yeah, I open the floor to any question you may have. So it seems it was very, very clear. No question. So I invite Jin-Yoon or Michael to conclude and show the.
Yes, it's a pleasure to conclude that session this morning, and we have seen the richness of the results, and we gained a lot also from the analysis that was performed, and it gives us directions for future development of solar fuels. And so I'd like to thank all the partners of the consortium, and also Lisa and Euroquality for their guidance and following through this project, which was really exciting for us. So we thank everybody and wish you good luck for your future research. Thank you.
Thank you very much to you as well for coordinating this whole project. So Jin-Yoon, would you like to introduce your last slides?
Sure. Alongside with Michael's compliment, we thank all the partners, as well as I mentioned, Euroquality, the non-research institute. For instance, we could do many things with this project. Example is that here is the in-person conference we could hold with the funding of the SUN2CHEM project with the partners with the 112 CO2. So if you click on the slides, we could have a very good time with this project. And we could also have a very fruitful discussion during conference. And of course, the picture. Yeah, this conference was hosted in EFFL, remarked to Dr. Lucas Piper, who was the organizer for this, and of course hosted by Professor Michael Fratzel and Professor Adelio Mendes. And yeah, as I mentioned, this was a very good business for us. If you can click, and then we have more dissemination activity. Not popping up, but oh, it's still okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, here we go. Then many dissemination activity to spread the discovery we made during the SUN2CHEM project was conducted. Example from Camilo Mesa, that he hosted some European researchers night, and in EFFL we also opened a session in the EFFL Science Day. If you remember, then we could display our inventions thanks to this project. Next slide, please. Oh, yeah. So also collaborated with the other European project. Example is 112 CO2 and the Metazol that we also participated. EFFL side participate for getting different sort of CO2 reduction reaction or the other products, something coming from the methane. So it's the opposite reaction, methane decomposing. We are trying to use a sub-related to it. So next slide, please. Yes. So we thank everyone, every partner for this project, and also the attendee of today's conference. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your participation, and presentation and support. And thank you everyone for attending this final conference. I hope it gave you a good idea of the SUN2CHEM results. So I wish you a good day, and I think we can end this meeting. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Goodbye. Thank you.
Have a nice